It's national meets regional. It's Sidewalks Entertainment. The long-running celebrity, music, and art series. Join us for a new path to arts and entertainment.
Our guest today is an award-winning celebrity chef, restaurateur, and cookbook author who has had the distinction of cooking for the last 3 sitting presidents. He also is the executive chef at his 2 namesake restaurants in both Las Vegas and San Francisco. I'd like to welcome Michael Mina to Sidewalks.
Thank you. Thank you,
Hi,
Cindy.
Michael. It's so great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Cindy. It's great to be here.
Well, I'd like to learn a little bit more about you because I'm not sure people know kind of who you are. Now, I know that you were born in Egypt and you were raised in Washington.
Yes.
Was cooking something that you started doing at home, like with your parents, or how did you kind of get into it?
You know, my mother cooked often at home. I'm born in Egypt, and so my mother cooked a lot of Middle Eastern food. But it started for me as a job at 15 years old, working in a small restaurant, and just fell absolutely in love with everything about it. And right out of high school, I went to the Culinary Institute of America, upstate New York in Hyde Park, and then worked in New York and Los Angeles, and moved to San Francisco in 1989 and opened my first restaurant, which was Aqua, in 1991.
Great restaurant, boy, let me tell you.
Thank you.
I have to say I was very impressed by what I read, that you have prepared meals for Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. What was it like to cook for those guys, and did they have any special requests for you?
You know, everyone is very different, and sometimes you're just part of what's going on, really. You know, you're fortunate enough to get a cook for them, but it really depends on what the occasion is. And so when I was able to cook for George W. Bush, it was a big banquet for, I think, 200 people. And that's much different. When I cooked for Bill Clinton, he was at one of my restaurants called Nob Hill at the MGM Grand. And that was an experience where he sat down and he was very in tune to what he was eating and wanted to know all about the techniques and the products. And then I've been fortunate enough to cook for President Obama twice, and the second time was at my restaurant in Washington, D.C., at Bourbon Steak at the Four Seasons, and that was a great experience where he was able to just enjoy a meal. And the one thing when you meet a president, obviously, it's a very humbling experience.
I can imagine. Not to mention a little nerve-wracking when you're watching the food go out the door and praying nobody, mistook the salt for the sugar or something. Well, I know that you have opened a lot of amazing restaurants, concept restaurants, but when you're home and you're feeding your family, what kind of dishes do you like to prepare? I mean, I'm assuming it's a little bit pared down in comparison to what you might do with some of these other establishments that you do.
Yeah. Well, when I'm home, one of the same philosophies that carries between restaurant and home is seasonality. And I think that, when you cook at home, the easiest way to end up with a great, dinner, lunch, breakfast, whatever it is, snack, is starting with great product. And so, go to a great market, go to a Whole Foods market, go to a farmer's market, buy product that's in peak season. And one of the things that I kind of follow at home is simplicity. And, if you start with a great product that's in season, whether you grill it, you simply roast it, saute it, sear it, simplicity at home, because I have a wife that gets very upset if I use too many pots and pans.
Because she's the one who's probably ended up doing the dishes, right? She's your
even when I'm doing the dishes, she still counts them. It's amazing.
I can imagine. Well, whether it's the holidays or you're just making a very special meal, it can be a daunting task to sort of figure out the menu, the wine, and not break the budget while you're, planning for all of this. where does a home cook sort of begin? Like, how do
Well,
you attack it?
Well, so like I said, you start with products. So like products that are indigenous to your area. So, around November, December, you have Dungeness crab in San Francisco. So I have some crab, Dungeness crab here. And what I've done is made it into crab cakes. And again, I like to do things that you can maybe do some of the steps ahead of time. So these crab cakes can be formed ahead of time. And then there's an aioli with piquillo peppers underneath it. And so that's another product that you can make ahead of time. Over here we have a portobello mushroom sandwich. So it's a vegetarian item with a little bit of brie cheese, pears, and some sweet potato fries. Again, a product that's in season right now. The sweet potato is delicious. And people want to know, what does seasonality mean? When a product's in season and it's ripe is where the sugar levels and the tartness start to balance out, and so that you always taste something, you say, oh, it's so sweet. It's because it's ripe. Roasted Brussels sprouts, again, a product that's in season. And then I have some mushrooms that have a little spinach stuffing and crispy breadcrumbs on top.
Let's go back to the fruit, because that was something that I find myself running into. There's nothing worse than trying to make a fruit dessert and then find that your fruit is sour. How can you tell if your fruit is ripe, especially if it's a firm piece of fruit anyway, like an apple pear or something like that?
Taste, taste, taste. You have to taste. And, again, what you're tasting for is balance. And if you taste something and it's too tart, and the sugar levels, haven't gotten to the maturity level where the product starts to get the sweetness that it should have, then you know that the product is not ripe yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I often find myself when I'm entertaining with my husband sort of stuck in our little tiny kitchen while he is out front, hosting the party, having a blast, and I'm, not able to enjoy the party. What can people do? Because I know I'm not the only one. What can everybody do to sort of manage their time better, or to somehow be more part of things instead of being stuck in the back?
Yeah, well, I think, again, trying to do as many things as you can ahead of time, but not doing too much. So many times people will take food and cook it ahead of time when it shouldn't be cooked, just to avoid the idea of not being able to spend time. So what I suggest is taking maybe it's greens or vegetable or something like that you can cook ahead of time, that you don't have to heat every single item that's on a plate. You can have an aioli, you can have some greens on a plate, not have to heat those, and then simply fry crab cakes and pop them into an oven. And so you can even fry them ahead of time and then just pop them in the oven.
Well, those are definitely tips that I'm going to put into my arsenal. But when you are a guest and you are going to somebody's event, one of the things that I think, and it may be considered old-fashioned, I don't know, but I just love the idea of a hostess gift. I think it's really nice to be able to say thank you for inviting me.
Right.
What are some food-based items that you can make at home that you could bring as like a great hostess gift?
Pickling vegetables, jams. I know a lot of times people bring jams. Jams aren't quite as intimidating as pickled vegetables, but pickled vegetables are actually very easy to make. And again, you're buying something that's in peak season. The price is going to be lower, the quality is going to be higher, and then you're finding a way to preserve it so that somebody can open it one day and say, wow, and a great thing to do, like you can go to Whole Foods, go to WholeFoodsMarket.com, the website, and they have some really great recipes from chefs and from the markets, where you can find what's in season and how to pickle it.
Wonderful. Michael, thank you so much for being with us today on Sidewalks. It was such a pleasure, and I wish you all the best with success in the future with all of your restaurants.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.
For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit sidewalkstv.com.